Hello, 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 everyone. My name is Joe, aka Joe the Wellness Curator, and this is the Obsidian Mindset Podcast, where we are redefining what wellness means to you. I am so excited to be back for another episode. So, for this episode, it's going to be super special. It's an interview, a chat with my girl, Nicole. Nicole is the podcast host of the Risers Hub. She's also an author. She is a creative. She's a runner. She's an athlete. She's the mother of an Olympian. She is just a woman of many talents and many things, many hyphenations. So I'm really excited to talk to her about that, all of that. And we'll get into that in detail. You'll even see we actually just jump right into the Olympics because I don't know if you know, but when it comes to the Olympics, I love talking about it. So we just dive into it. But before we jump into the interview, I just want to take some time to say, we are in a season of change. I'm in DC right now, and today the weather just dropped this morning. I was told that the weather is not going to be like this forever. It's just a fake fall, basically, in DC. But it was pretty drastic, and almost I got a little bit of sniffles this morning. I had to change the wardrobe, so with that, I just want to say, or just want to tell everyone to just make sure you're protecting yourself as the season changes. There's a lot of things that go on, and sometimes our bodies are not ready or equipped for that change. It's both mental, physical. Every dimension of wellness is usually impacted, at least to me, with seasons of change. So just be cognizant of that. All right, and with that, without further ado, let's get straight into this episode with our interview with Nicole Hodges.
How you doing, Mr. Joe?
It's been so long. How are
I
you?
know. My life has been crazy lately.
I mean, crazy could be good and bad.
Yes, and it
And
was
in
good
refer-
and bad.
Yeah. Net, we're here. You're
Oh
alive.
my
We're
gosh.
alive.
Yes. Alive and blessed.
How was your day / how was post Paris?
Oh my gosh. It was an experience. It was amazing. From Olympic trials all the way to there, just I'm really proud of my kid.
That is
Just
so dope. I was like,
yeah.
oh, I know her. Well, I kind of know her. I know her through her mom.
I know her
I
mama.
know. 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. Of course, we all wanted a different result, but at the end of the day, like nobody in our family has done what she's done. I know maybe one or two other Olympians, and they're not relatives.
Other Olympic. I'm like, I don't even know any. This is the closest I've gotten that I know of. And it's
Yeah,
wild.
so
Because I was telling my friend, we were talking, we are just like, it must. I was gonna say, I don't want to say it sucks to be number 4 because you're right there to the medal. But
yeah,
then that's like the scarcity mindset. But also, how many people could say they're Olympians? Like that's its
exactly.
own right. Like
Exactly.
that's like one in a lot of people. I'm not.
Exactly. I mean,
So
yeah, and that, and then like she's at an age where she's like learning about like who she is and what she wants to do with her life. I mean, obviously she's doing it, but
yeah.
just becoming the person that she really wants to become. And um, it's scary as a parent, but at the same time, like I'm loving everything that I'm seeing unfold, really with both my girls. But for them to come into their own, it's just like man, I wish I could have done that when I was her age. And it's not the Olympic part, just being who they are.
Hmm.
Um, so that's if there's anything I'm proud of, that's the one thing I'm most proud of with her. And then, she just happens to be an Olympian.
Don't forget that's a little seasoning. She just
Yeah.
happens to be an
Put a
Olympian.
little salt and pepper on that one. And by the way, here's
We-
the
like you didn't happen to see the Olympics, did you?
because the girl with the
That,
red hair that looked like me. No, I'm just kidding.
that is so cool. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so funny. I can talk about the Olympics for hours, so maybe
Yeah, me
I'll
too.
try to wait. So since all right, so we can spend a little more time. Did you go to any other events, or what were some key events that you really enjoyed?
We kind of stumbled over cycling because we were walking everywhere, and so like we would be like,
Mm.
they would shut down streets just out of the blue, and then like we were eating, and then they would like pass right past the restaurants and
Like,
things like that. But more so like once we were in Paris, like no offense to the other sports, but we were in Paris, So it was like the Eiffel Tower, it was the
Ah, got
Louvre,
it.
it was the Chateau de Versailles. It was places like that we wanted to go to. So we hit up a lot of museums, ate a lot of French food. Um, my sister thought I was a drunk 'cause I had wine with every single meal. I'm like, I'm in
When
Paris.
in Rome, right?
When in
Literally.
Rome.
What are you supposed to
So like
do?
I was enjoying myself, and we did a little shopping and it was just nice to be somewhere that we'd never been before. And I was
Yes.
really, really happy that I did it with my sister of all people. Because she knows my craziness, I know her craziness, and it was just you didn't have to like really explain anything. And if we got upset, it was just like, okay, fine, let's move on to the next thing. So it was like that, and so that's what I enjoyed. And I enjoyed the fact that like, Nia's family was there on both sides, and she just got to we just all kind of were together even though we weren't together, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great experience. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we were technically started, but in case we do add this,
Yes, that's fine. I don't
tell us
care.
who is, no, 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 but tell us who your daughter is and what she's participated in as well. Because I know I got excited and tried to jump right in, but little context.
Yes, her name is Nia Akins, and
Hey,
she's
hey.
800. Yep, and she's an 800-meter runner. She got 10th at the Olympics. But she is like, in my book, she's number one. But like I believe before the Olympics, she was like number four in the world. And
In the world.
yeah, in the world. And she's been doing this for, I mean, she's been running track since she was like 7. She hated it for like a massive amount of years. She played soccer for a while and then got back into track in high school and just
Wow.
just kept pushing. And she wanted to be a professional athlete, and she found her ideal situation with track. And she just keeps, at this point now, it's just, what can I do? What can my body do now? And it's funny because that's what we do as old folks.
Literally.
Like, how far can I push this bone? How far can this muscle take me? It's literally like that. But like at that age, at 20 something years old, I mean, sky's the
A
limit.
lot more, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I always tell her, like, you got an old mom who can run a 7-minute mile. You need to be an Olympian.
I know that's right. Like, I give you these jeans for nothing. You better utilize them while you still can.
Hey, by the way, that was a 7-minute mile like 2 years ago, so not right now.
I'll put that as a little caveat. As
A little bit more seasoning right there. That was 2 years ago.
oh man. All right. So I guess let's talk about the behind the Olympian.
Okay.
You,
Oh, okay. The lady who had her.
the lady who raised her to create those genes and to have this authenticity and be able to strive for all she is. So
Mhm,
definitely want to know more about your story and like what I usually like to ask folks as soon as they jump on,
mhm.
and we'll talk about the bio and stuff. But like, describe your wellness journey, whatever that means to you. It has definitions for everyone depending on what the dimension they want to talk about. But to you, how do you summarize your wellness journey?
My wellness journey is more of like something that I can control. And
Mm,
so, there's a lot of things in life that I've learned over the years, and it took me a long time to get here, that I really can't control. I can't control my kids. I can't control my mate. I can't control the people around me, but I can control how fit I am,
mm,
how unfit I can be sometimes. That's one thing that I can control. So, my wellness journey basically started because I was a little string bean growing up. And I realized once I got to high school into college, the only way I was going to have a figure is to work out. And so I just kind of learned the lingo as far as like working out. I ran track for the University of Missouri. So I'm a
mm.
Big 12 champion, and I've run track, oof, like all from high school through college. I ran professionally for 6 months and decided I did not like it.
I know that's right.
And like I said, I had friends who ran professionally, and it just wasn't for me. So, I like being competitive, but not competitive with other people. Like being competitive
Mm,
with myself. And with all my ups and downs, running has been my foundation and my core along with God. And those are the two things that basically keep me balanced. So when things are rough, um, I those miles, they just start piling on. I run for days. And everything is good. I still run, but it's not as intense. So that's my wellness journey. My mom taught me how to take really good care of myself through eating um, really good food and fixing it in a way where you can still enjoy, all different types of food, but not with all of the additives and preservatives and things like that. So I commend her for that.
Mm.
And then I just, as far as like looking young and staying young, it's just like drinking a ton of water and eating a lot of vegetables.
I black don't
I
crack. All
mean,
right,
yeah.
girl.
So that's my formula. And I love to laugh and I love to crack jokes. I think in my next life, I'm going to be a stand-up comedian because I need to get paid for these jokes I've been putting out there.
All right, so now I have to ask. So you have to give me a joke, or at least before the end, I need to hear some jokes.
Oh God, I don't have any good ones, but I might get in trouble. I'm not ready to be canceled yet. I'm just getting started.
Oh man! All right, so to dive in a little bit more into running, because that's interesting enough, that's how we met.
Yes.
Wait, was it a year ago? 2 years ago?
Yes, I walked up to you and said, "You're going to be my friend."
I was not
Oh
gonna
my
bring that one
God.
in, but
Okay.
that's literally how it went.
Exactly how it went. I was like, that guy's gonna be my friend. He's like a big teddy bear and he's gonna be my friend. And so I did it.
And
And that was so out of ordinary for me. And for some reason I wasn't scared to do that. I'm just like, I'm not gonna do nothing like that. And you walk past and I was just like, hey, I'm Nicole. I don't know who you are, but I want to be your friend. And you were just like, okay.
it literally was just like that.
Yep.
I think it was like, was it my first time, or maybe one of my first times running with a run group in DC?
Okay.
I think you were similarly. Was it your first time or?
No, I think I'd been there for a little while, and
Okay.
I remember you kind of joining, and then we'd always find a way. Well, at least this is how I saw it. This is my story, but I always seemed like when we were running, we would always be running side by side, and we wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
really say anything, but we had kind of the same pace.
Hmm.
So, and so then that's when I decided that I just needed to introduce myself because I just moved here and I don't know anybody, and he seems
Same.
cool. Yeah.
Yes. So I guess with that, my first question is in terms of like running, what has kept you to continue running? Because there's times when I'm like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. And there's times like, oh my God, I need to do this every day. So what has
Yeah.
kept you longevity wise continue with running?
I have those days too where I don't want to do it and I just listen to my body because if my body's telling me not to do it, I'm not going to do it. So that's the first.
Mm-hmm.
As far as longevity is concerned, at first I was doing it because I was always training for a half marathon or a 10K or a 5K. And I had little friends. I shouldn't call them little friends. They're my friends. Friends here and there. So don't beat me up. They know how I talk. They know how I talk.
That's black
Um,
mama talk. You and your little friends.
my little friends. I would have my friends and we would, do these events occasionally. And then I was going through a divorce. And it was like one of the hardest times of my life because it needed to happen, but I didn't know how it was going to look. So I just felt like I was going crazy every single day. And so I got a therapist, and she's like, "Well, do you exercise?" And I'm like, "Of course I exercise." I was teaching class. Well, before my divorce, I was like teaching classes, and I was a trainer, and I did the whole nine from training from I'm sorry teaching classes to being actually fitness model. And when that bump hit my life, I had to stop a lot of things and completely change my life. So I had to go back to work full time. I had to figure out how I was going to take care of a kid who was going to college and one who was going into high school. And so I just wasn't working out as much. And I just felt like I was spiraling every day. And the therapist is like, well, she goes, well, it seems like, you told me that you love to run. So have you been running? And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot to do that part. And she's like, I think you should be running every day. Don't just do it because you're training for something. She goes, even if that one day you don't want to do it anyway. And do like, even if it's a mile, just run. And so I was like, okay. And it was hard because I was running every other day. And that's kind of how I had trained my body for years.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started doing it. I would get up every morning at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would go for a run. And sometimes it was a mile, sometimes it was 6, sometimes it was 5, sometimes it was 2. And every day that I ran, I was building up my confidence because I'm telling you, like when I had to go back into the workforce after divorce and raising two kids, I couldn't even put a sentence together. Like for me to be sitting here talking to you it would never have happened. I could not put a full sentence together because I was raising two young kids and that's all I had been talking to all these years. Because I was just kind of isolated I was isolated within my marriage. And so it was just an interesting time. So running built up my confidence, and I started running every single day, and I felt a change in my body. Again, and it was almost like a new evolution of myself,
Hmm.
and I just never stopped. And so then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to like give my body a break. And like I said, I'd listen to my body and I'd stop. And then, but I would get right back. I'd give myself no more than 2 weeks and I get right back into it. Um, then I got hooked to duathlons, which is the run, bike, run.
Hmm.
And the people who own the company who's putting these on, they put on 7 events a year. And so I couldn't figure out how I was going to do it because duathlons and triathlons are expensive.
Hmm.
And on top of that, I'm like trying to take care of a kid in high school and one in college. So they had this one lady that I met said you should volunteer. She goes, if you volunteer a day or two before, they give you a ticket to race. And so I was like, really? So for 2 years straight, I did this. So every Saturday I would volunteer, and it was a great way to meet people, a great way for me to
Hmm.
work on talking to people, and kind of again building my confidence. And I found a cheap bike, and my first one I did on a mountain bike.
Oh,
Got
wow.
laughed at, and then I got me a road bike. And I mean, this was going on for like 4 or 5 years, but then during the divorce, I had to keep my mind focused and sharp,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to have my kids come home to a mom who was upset or crying every day. So I kept myself in the gym and on the road and riding bikes, and I found groups, and I did 7 duathlons in 1 year plus
Wow.
3 half marathons. And then the following year, I repeated the same pattern. And that's how I got through the hardest part of my life. And I stayed in shape. So, so yeah, that's my running journey.
Wow, that was amazing. That's a lot of context. Because it's funny because you'll meet other runners and you just never know the story
Yeah.
behind why. Some people, for weight loss, or some just because it's avenue, but some it's in the core.
Oh yeah.
So I guess with that, and we kind of piggyback or kind of go towards, you went from not being able to string two sentences together to like being a podcast host and having a wellness community and coaching. So
Mhm.
tell me more about the podcast and your wellness community and your coaching style, and then how all those lessons that you've basically told us since then kind of resonate inside of that community and your podcasting style as well.
Okay. Yeah, so I wrote a book called Time to Rise, Get Fit, and Stay There, and it's basically based off of, creating goals for yourself. And the goals should be very strategic, and there should be a plan on how you're going to execute those goals. And so when I was a trainer, I noticed that I could have people lift weights and run and hit a certain level of weight loss or fitness, and then they would plateau.
Mm,
And I would always talk to them like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? Because it was always something else. It wasn't necessarily what was happening in the gym, it was something that was happening in their life. So that's when I realized that the body, mind, and the spirit, or the soul, what some of us say, are all connected. And so I would start talking to them about what was happening in their personal life. And then I could see the connection. Like if they were having trouble with their kid, then they couldn't really work out because their mind was focused on something that was eating at them, or
mhm,
if they had a negative view of themselves, they couldn't like they would just plateau and they would never get over that plateau of like getting more fit. And so I had to figure out how am I going to crack that egg so we can start cooking these goals and making them move forward. So I created this book, and I didn't think I could do it because I don't know why I was nervous, but I was working full time, and so I found a template, and I started putting my ideas and ideations in this template. on top of that, I went to a life coach because a therapist was boring me after a while. And so I found a life coach, and then she told me, like, why don't you become a life coach? And in that course, we had to come up with our own ideology of, how we were going to coach people. And so I came up with the R.I.S.E method, which is researching yourself, identifying the problem, strategizing a plan, and executing that plan. And that's where R.I.S.E came from. And then I wanted to talk about it. So I put a podcast together. I moved from California to the DMV area, and I love East Coast. I love the people that I'm meeting so far, hence yourself. And but I wanted it to be something where it was more of a hub. And so I want
Mhm.
to keep the word rise because I think that we all need to rise above who we are sometimes. And you could be in a really dark place, or you could be in a really good place, but we all have the opportunity to continue to rise and be the best authentic selves that we can be. Um, Raising two girls who have very big dreams and they go after them. They are kind of the, well, I shouldn't say they are the kind of, they are the basis of this rise method. We would sit and talk about the things that they wanted to create in their lives, and we would write down the pros and cons of everything and what they needed to do to get there. So they understood work ethic,
Mm.
they understood the process, and now that they're in their 20s, they're learning that the process doesn't always mean you work really hard and get what you want. You have ups and downs, and in the process you can change, and in the process you can fail miserably,
Mhm.
in the process you can also win greatly. It's all in how you decide how you're going to walk through all that. So
Mm.
they are, to me, the foundation of Time to Rise and the Risers Hub. So I decided, in order for people to know that this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do in the wellness field, I put the podcast together. You can go to therisershub.com. I'm putting content together. I'm working with other personal trainers to put videos together. And I really want this to be a hub for people to just click on and find their authenticity within the hub, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
Because the one thing I love about people when I meet them, and I think that's what draws me to you and a lot of my friends, is that everyone has a unique twist to them. And all my life, being as old as I am, I always say I'm 110 years old. So in the 110 years I've lived, I've always lived for myself a very conservative life. And it doesn't always suit me because in my head I'm nothing like what people see me as.
Mm.
So I'm drawn to people who are unapologetically, authentically themselves, because that's something that I want to be. And so I think the Risers Hub is pulling that out of me. And so that's why I say this journey is not only your journey, but it's my journey as well. We're doing it together. Um, and every day I'm doing something completely different. That's why I moved from the West Coast to the East Coast. I want something completely different, and I'm getting it. And I'm learning a lot about who I am and who I want to be, and I want to help other people on their journeys as well. So I have Zoom calls with as group sessions. I do one-on-one sessions, and then also too there's my podcast. So that was a long answer to a short.
No, I appreciate it. And kudos to, I just love when I hear you talk about it, because not the first time I heard talk about it, but whenever I
Yeah,
do, I just love how intentional it is. And it's like from the bottom up, very like foundationally.
mhm.
And yeah, there's like a purpose around everything. And it like
Yeah.
you embody it. So
Oh, I appreciate
kudos to
that.
that. Yeah, we see
I
you.
appreciate
I'm
that.
very proud.
I appreciate.
Um, so I guess also like when we're talking about community building, because that's exactly what you're doing,
Mhm.
what do you see your role, or how do you see your role in fostering diversity and inclusion within the running community, impacting overall wellness?
I'm just a catalyst. I've always been a
Mm,
catalyst. Even when I was in San Diego, I'm just a catalyst. I mean, I can be the face of a movement, but I don't see myself like that. I like to be the person who connects people
mm,
and helps them find a solution to their situation or problem. So I consider myself a catalyst. I'm a giver. I'm empathetic. I'm sensitive, so I like to stay kind of behind the scenes. But I like to see people grow, and I like to see people go through the process and change. I mean, that's why,
mm,
like I was
mm,
just talking about my daughter. Like I like seeing that. My youngest daughter, like she's 22, and we see things very differently right now. But at the same time, I envy that and I love that about that because I want her to grow and I want her to, go against the norm and I want her to debate me on things, So,
Hmm.
so even though they're my daughters, I like seeing that. I like seeing my friends grow. I have some very awesome friends from San Diego to here, and just watching them move around in their wellness journey and trying to figure it out and fall behind and then leap forward and watch them change. It's all incredible to me. And human beings are incredible. I wish that this world could see how incredible each individual is like I can. I think it would be a better place. But I just love seeing the process in everybody. So
I love that.
yeah.
Um, that's why I think we are so aligned, or we get along, or we just because it's the same for me. I just love, like, I don't necessarily care about like where you're at now,
Mhm.
but it's like the process and your mindset of like getting to the next spot and pushing through, and how
Right.
could I help you get there? Like, I don't, like, you, I don't need to be in the front. I can lead from the back if I need to,
Right.
but it's just like, how can I support you? Even if it's one person, I would say, even if it's only one person that listens to this podcast and get something out of it,
Exactly.
I've done more than what I thought I could do. It's always
Yes.
the impact.
Yes. So my purpose right now is just to move with intention and to coach with intention and to try try to talk with intention. I'm not very good at that part.
You, so far, you've been intentional, girl. You got this.
So I mean, I'm still learning too. I'm definitely not perfect. I definitely have
Hmm.
imperfections. I'm still growing. But what I'm noticing now is that when I do make these so-called mistakes or things that I don't like about myself, I'm very aware of it.
Hmm.
So I'm able to like correct myself before my mouth opens or while my mouth is running, a mile a minute. Like, okay, you need to stop and slow down. And you need to apologize or fix it or whatever you need to do. So I'm being very vulnerable with people.
Hmm.
I'm learning that when I'm vulnerable with people, I'm getting the respect that I think, not that I deserve, but I'm being respected more
Hmm.
as a human being than I have been before because they're like, oh, she's admitting to that.
Hmm.
And oh, and she showed me this vulnerable side that she didn't have to show me. So,
Hmm.
and that's all, it's all intentional. Because I just want, when I walk in a room, I want people to be like, she's here. I want them to be like, oh, we gotta go. I don't want that. So yeah, I want to be someone with intention and purpose. And so yeah.
I love that. And one thing that because we're the same person, same.
Hmm. Hmm.
But one thing I've noticed, especially when I'm trying to be more, or I'm in the process or working on being more vulnerable in all spaces, is, when you do it, it's like a muscle, like anything, you just have to work on it and
Oh,
keep on trying it out, see what fits. And some things might not work for you, and that's fine too, but
exactly.
just switching what it does. But what I do realize is that when you do it, you also give people permission to do it too. So people that might say, I don't want to do it, because even for me, like as a black man, oh, we don't do that. We don't show our emotions or
Emotion.
whatever,
Mhm.
or it's like the limited scope of emotions we're allowed to show. But like things like when you actually do show it and folks are like, oh, it didn't look that bad on her, or oh, it didn't look that bad. It didn't seem that hard when he did it. Maybe I can do
Right.
it too.
Right.
And as you say, even for you showing up in that space as yourself and being vulnerable, you are still being a catalyst, even if that's not the exact purpose, or that's not exactly what you're doing in that moment.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
Right. I mean, I'm doing things right now that I didn't expect to do when I moved to the East Coast from my job to just like activities that I'm involved in.
Hmm.
But when I'm meeting people and I'm talking to people, I want to walk away going, I remember that girl, and she said that I could do this, and she said that I could do that, and I couldn't see that in myself. And so that's all I want to do is just like kind of like turn the mirror around and say, hey, like you're an amazing person, and I don't see why you can't do this or you can't do that,
Hmm.
and do that for myself as well, which is really hard. But when I'm trying to motivate other people, I'm motivating myself. It's like when you're
Hmm.
giving, when you're giving to another person, like you can physically give something to someone else, and it's going to make them feel good, but it's also going to make you feel good. It's the same analogy. It's just very organic.
Hmm.
So
I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
One thing I want to talk about next is not only do you do podcasting and a book, but you also do other creative ventures. You do art,
Yes.
popping art. Website is popping too.
Oh, thank you.
So I want to get more into, and this is the idea I've talked about often, of like creativity and wellness and how the two impact each other.
Mm.
So for me, I want to know like how do you believe your creativity contributes to your overall wellness, and how do you incorporate that into your daily routine?
That's a very good question. I'm kind of a gypsy. I'm a Sagittarius, full on. Creativity and wellness journey, I think, go hand in hand. You have to be creative to figure out how you're going to navigate yourself in this
Mm,
lifetime, in this world. For me, it's interesting that you asked the question, and the reason why I'm kind of hesitant is because I'm kind of stuck creatively right now.
mm,
I love putting things together like websites and podcasts and artwork and social media and things like that. Um, and for me, in order to get my point across about what I'm trying to do in the wellness field, that's how I can do it is through my
mhm,
creativity. So, I could hire somebody to do it, but again, that's one thing I can control in my life. So,
mhm,
I'm trying my best to control that and be the person who's really putting out what's in my head onto either social media or a website, for people to be able to look at and, hopefully soon to touch and have in their hands and share with others as well. So I think that's the best way to explain it for myself.
mhm,
Um, and also too, it's just, for me, creativity is part of my soul, part of my spirit.
mm,
I've been doing that. I actually, the reason why I started art was because, growing up, I had, Ashkut-Schlotter's disease, where you have
mm.
the broken bones in your knees. I was growing way too fast, so I literally went from 8 to 12
Oh wow.
in a year. It's funny, and I was like, I'm the same size I was when I was 12. But anyway, so for a year, they don't put you in a cast or anything, but like your knees, have these broken bones in them, and
Hmm.
so I couldn't run and I couldn't do any activity
Wow.
for 1 year. So my mom went out and to the library, to the bookstore, and she bought these books on how to draw and paint, and there was like a pile of them. And she brought them home, and she was like, "Okay, learn this," because I'm a busybody, and she didn't know what else to do with me. So, um, I sat down and read some books and figured it out, and that's how I learned how to draw and paint. And I just took it
Wow.
upon myself and to do it. And then I took a few art classes in high school and college, and I just never really stopped. So, um, if there's anything I know how to do, I can run a mile and I can draw a face. I mean, so yeah,
Wow. That's amazing. I did not know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I think that's really inspiring. I think for me, I'm an accountant by trade,
yes,
and we're not notoriously known to be creative folks,
yeah,
or at least not in the traditional sense. And I
right,
think over the last couple of years, especially in my own wellness journey, I've been trying to figure out my own what creativity means to me and looks like. And these last few weeks, I've been in a little bit of a slump.
hmm,
And after going to therapy and talking a little bit, I think it's because I was blocked. Similar to you, just blocked creatively.
yes,
There we go.
creatively, hmm,
And that's also honestly why I started the podcast again. It's been a year, and I was like, I need to get this out. I need to start journaling more because my therapist was like, "Have you been writing?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Have you been doing the podcast?" I was like, "No." And I was like, "He's like, have you been doing photography, painting, any of the stuff you used to do?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Okay, so
do it."
right,
Just
like
like running, like you haven't been running, well, then just you need to run.
right." So I was like, "Okay, let me start doing some of that," and I started reading again, like for passion, running for a passion, and it's like, oh, all these things start clicking,
Yeah,
like synapse are just firing off. So and that's kind of why I asked. It's like the way creativity and wellness looks like and connects. I think a lot of people don't associate it because they're like, oh, I don't know how to draw, or I don't know how to do this. But creativity looks different for everyone, and you just gotta
yeah.
find what that looks like and incorporate it into your wellness journey.
Exactly. And I think you helped me think about the answer that I could have given, which is that creativity is like a release.
Mm,
And it's like a channel that comes, it's like a channel of, it's like an extension of yourself.
mm,
and it's part of your, we're talking about the body, the mind, the spirit, or the soul. It's part of your soul. And
Hmm.
and you're right, you don't have to be able to draw and paint. I have a friend, a good friend, who gardens, and she's very creative around the house, and she can take a pair of jeans and make them the best looking jeans you've ever seen. Like, she can just
Amen.
recreate, and it's this release, and her real job has nothing to do with what she can do at home. I mean, she can grow a tree in 5 days. I mean, it's like, I mean, it doesn't have to be where you have to go run a mile or go to the gym. I mean, that just happens to be what we enjoy doing.
Hmm.
Drawing and painting is something I just happen to know how to do. If I could do more of it, I would love to. But right now, like, I'm really connected with the running. And when it comes to the drawing stuff, what I like doing, it's, again, this is all about the giving part. I like putting people in the art. So
Mm.
I draw pictures of other people, and just to see their reaction, and like, and see, they're like, you did this for me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you see me like this, and they're so happy, and like, that brings me so much joy. And in my head, I'm like, it took me just a couple minutes. I mean, like, and it's just, it's giving them a lifetime of something that they'll have forever. And I have people who pull things out when I was like in high school. Do you remember painting this for me? And I'm like,
Oh.
no. I'm 110. No, I don't remember that.
No, too.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, like, a little piece of yourself, an extension of yourself, stays with somebody,
Hmm.
and it's just, when, as you know, my aunt passed away, and we had a very interesting relationship. And, I had to go through her stuff to, to either get rid of it, or to give it to people, or whatever we were doing. And I came across this box, and what was very interesting about it, I remember her talking about it, and this is before the Olympic trials,
Hmm.
and she had told me over the years that, that she wanted to go to Paris. And so one of these boxes that I opened, it was a print, but it popped out of the box, and I opened it up, and it was like a picture of Paris. So you could tell, like, that she wanted to go to Paris so that
Mm.
she had this printed painting of that she hadn't framed yet, because she hadn't gone there yet, and she had traveled to Egypt and Africa and all that, but she hadn't gotten to Paris. And so I was like, I just started praying, and I was like, God, like, let my kid make it to Paris, because I know that's what she wants, but
Wow.
wouldn't this be crazy? So that picture was found. I set it to the side. I'm going through all, because she liked to do watercolor. She wasn't great at it, but this is like her release.
Hmm.
And so I'm going through all this stuff, and lo and behold, there was like, I don't know how she got them, but there are these three massive paintings that I did in high school, watercolor, that she still had. And again, remember, I'm 110 years old, so this is like 80 years ago. And so I was just like, I can't even believe, and I'm looking at these paintings like, I did this? Like,
Wow.
really? And then for my daughter to, like, win Olympic trials, and then for her to get us all to Paris, was just, it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And so it's just like that extension of me to my aunt, and for her to hold it on. And she was not a person who's like, letting me know, oh, I still have this, she kept so much to herself. And that really touched me. And then, like, just how she's taking care of me now, even though she's gone, it's just that whole circle of life and love, and I don't want to say hatred, but it was one of those relationships.
Complicated. Yeah,
Yeah,
complicated
very
feelings.
complicated. There was no hate there. It was just a lot of complication. Um, it's just, she's part of my wellness journey, as well
Mm.
as the Paris is part of my wellness journey, and the running and biking is my wellness journey. It's like a wellness journey is like a compilation of things that happen in your life. It's not just being fit and drinking water and eating an orange. It's so much more. And if you're open and willing to be better, a better version of yourself, then you're already on a wellness journey. You don't even know it.
Wow, what a gem drop. I usually ask what are some gems you have for folks speaking, but that was
Yeah,
it.
that was on my last
That
podcast
was
too. So if you haven't heard it, the writer's
you
hub. I,
yes, you better.
Plugging.
You better plug away. Um, so I guess with that, the last, I guess the last thing to ask is like, what are your future goals for both yourself and then for the Risers Hub and then your community? Like, what are some things that you want to do next? And then how do you want to continue to inspire others to be healthier and a more balanced life?
Yeah, for myself, I want to reach as many people as I possibly can, whether it's through events, the podcast, someone stumbles across my website, you join some Zoom calls or one-on-one. I just want to touch as many people as I can. If I can help you get on the right path, I mean, literally, if I can just help you get on the right path and you use other resources to get to where you want, that's fine. So that's what I would like for myself. And as far as the Risers Hub, I want it to be a true hub. And Joe, we've talked about this before, like having events, putting the hubs together,
Oh,
having little
yeah.
pods of people everywhere, to just talk about where they are and where they want to go, and then, you know, um, be the catalyst, spark that energy in them to get out there and do what they got to do. So I think that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's in God's plan.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing it now. So
Yeah.
you're already there.
Yes.
All right. So before we end, I always
Yes.
love to do this or that. So you ready to play a little game before we end?
Yep.
Okay. So this is a game called This or That
Yep.
Wellness Edition. So I'm gonna give you two options and you have rapid fire. You tell me which one you'd rather do.
Oh boy. Okay.
Ready? Don't look so nervous. Okay, we're gonna start.
Okay.
Yoga or Pilates?
Yoga or Pilates? Yoga.
Okay. Indoor cycling class or outdoor bike ride?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Outdoor bike ride.
Okay. Herbal tea or infused water?
Herbal tea.
Beach vacation or wellness retreat?
Ooh. Wellness retreat.
Okay. Running on the treadmill or running outdoors?
Running outdoors. Are you talking
All
about
right.
treadmill?
I know. Dumbbells or kettlebells?
Dumbbells.
Okay. Boxing or kickboxing?
Boxing.
Okay. Track and field events or team sports?
Track and field.
Of course. Uh, Plant-based protein or whey protein?
Plant-based. I'm old. I can't do that way stuff no more.
um, Plant-based burger or grass-fed beef burger?
Grass-fed beef burger. I'm back on the beef.
Same. Olive oil or coconut oil?
Ooh, it depends on what you're cooking.
Mm,
But olive oil. I use it all the time.
okay. A few more. Glute bridges or hip thrusts?
Glute bridges or hip thrust. Depends on the gym, but hip thrust.
Good answer. Good answer.
Lord, forgive me if I have sinned.
Jumping jacks or burpees,
Ooh, jumping jacks.
and then stepping machine, the stairmaster, or the elliptical bike.
Ooh, Stairmaster.
All right, you passed. I don't know what the passing grade is, but that was our speed round of this or that. Um, any other gems before we drop off? I know you left the big one. But anything else? Anyone, if for anyone listening that's still here,
Yeah.
that maybe is not inspired or motivated for their wellness journey, what are some things you would ask or say to them?
Please understand that you're on your own wellness journey. You are not performing for an audience. You're performing for yourself. And so you have to step outside yourself and decide what that's going to look like. What is that competition against yourself going to look like? And where do you want to go? This has nothing to do with anyone else. You're not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for yourself. And once you start doing it for yourself, everything else will fall into place. That's it.
Boom, mic drop, just like that.
Like Barack.
Just like Nicole, thank you so much for coming.
Very welcome.
How can folks find you?
You can find me at NicoleHodges.com, or you can go to the risershub.com. You can find me in those two places, and hit me up with an email if you have any questions.
Amazing. And definitely look out. We're definitely gonna have some events.
Yes,
That's
we are.
if there's something that's definitely gonna happen.
Yes.
We already had one in the past. We're just gonna do a
Yes.
couple more next in the future. And I'm so excited to collaborate in the future. So this is
Yeah.
not gonna be the last time you're gonna hear her voice on this
Nope.
podcast.
Nope, it's not. Get ready. Get
Because she
ready.
said that's my friend. And I was like, yes, we are. We committed now. But thank you again. And like as I always like to end the podcast saying, thank you for picking you today. Bye,
Thanks.
y'all.
Bye.